Welcome to The Controversial Truth, where we bring you content on health and wealth that nobody would ever tell you until now. I'm your host, Dr. Victoria Munoz, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about the role genes play in aging and disease. Stay tuned. We've been led by the misconception that genes control our environment and that we are victims of our heredity. There are many theories that propose a biological basis on why we age and the role that genes play in this process. Though there are many theories that attempt to explain the relationship between regulation and lifespan, there are two main theories that seem to dominate the debate: the program theory and the error theory. The program theory suggests that aging occurs on a biological timeline following a sequence of changes in gene expression responsible for the maintenance and defense systems of the body. As we age, hormone and immune function declines. This leaves a species vulnerable to infection and disease, and eventually death. The error theory maintains the idea that aging is a result of cumulative damage to DNA over time. This would be due to environmental insults and oxidative stress that damages the cellular structures of the body. The quest to find a single theory to explain the aging process might be unrealistic. The human body is a complex system of biological processes affected by both internal and external forces. We know that aging is not a linear path of pre-programmed events over which we have no control. Though we were each born with a unique set of genes from both our mother and our father, how and when these genes are expressed are dependent on many factors. First, let's look at genes and what they actually are. Within the nucleus of each cell, we have what are called chromosomes. And a chromosome is a long strand of deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA. DNA carries a unique genetic code for each species. For humans, each of us have acquired genes from both our mother and our father. Each parent contributes 23 chromosomes in a healthy offspring. The two sets of chromosomes that we acquire from our mother and our father make you unique. Each DNA molecule contains this unique genetic code. The relationship between each gene or allele will determine which traits dominate. Within this code are the genes responsible for synthesizing the proteins required for the many functions of the human body. So how are genes regulated? It was once thought that genes regulated themselves. The popular belief was that some biological alarm went off at a predetermined time programmed to wake up sleeping genes. We now know that environmental triggers are responsible for how our genes are expressed, and that we do have control of our genetic destiny. Environmental triggers can be defined as poor diet, smoking, environmental toxins such as pesticides and household cleaners, personal hygiene products, stress, and negative thinking. That being said, genes are either upregulated for health or downregulated for disease. Our genes do not sit dormant, but are always expressing good proteins for health or bad proteins for disease. This is known as epigenetics. So you might be asking yourself, well, what is epigenetics? Epigenetics is a study of how the inner and outer environment affect gene expression. Age always plays a role in gene expression, but the aging process will be different for each individual depending on how they manage their environmental exposures. A gene which is a product of our DNA does not change. What changes is how the gene is expressed. Our genes are merely a blueprint. Ribonucleic acid, or RNA, transcribes the gene according to how the environment dictates. For example, a gene for a certain disease does not just randomly cause disease. Factors such as cortisol, inflammation, and toxic exposures cause the gene to downregulate and transcribe bad proteins. The copy is then carried from the nucleus of the cell into the cytoplasm where the new protein is synthesized. These environmental triggers are called regulatory proteins, and these proteins determine how our genes are expressed. Regulatory protein, DNA, RNA, protein. Epigenetics alters the readout of the gene. We are not confined to the gene messages that we inherit. For example, identical twins are born with the exact same genetic profile. The genes of these twins will change through epigenetics over time. This might explain why one twin might die at the age of 50 and the other age 80, for example. Cancer offers another good example of this. Cancer is just a symptom of lifestyle choices. Regardless of whether we carry the gene for a certain cancer, how the gene is expressed will determine disease. For example, the BRCA1 gene is a marker for breast cancer. As long as that gene is functioning properly, it will not cause cancer. Once there is an environmental insult that downregulates that gene, it has a strong propensity to cause cancer. This may seem a bit complicated, but the important thing to understand is that positive lifestyle choices upregulate genes leading to good health, and poor lifestyle choices tend to downregulate genes causing disease. So we can now see why genes are not self-actualizing, meaning they do not regulate themselves. The environment controls the fate of the cell, which in turn determines our health outcome. There are over 100,000 different proteins in the human body. All cells are built of these various proteins, and each cell will require a different protein based on the cell type. So this leads us to asking the question, what is protein's relationship to energy and matter? A protein is a sequence of amino acids, each with a different shape and electrical charge. A protein will configure itself based on the charges of the amino acids, ultimately forming a 3D molecule. Opposite charges, positive and negative, attract each other. In addition, proteins will then bind to environmental signals. This will cause the protein to change its configuration yet again. In medicine, drugs are essentially the environmental signals used to control our biology. We have protein plus environmental signal equals health status. The universe is made of 99.99% energy. This means that we are 99.99% energy. Proof of our existence is based on photons of light reflecting off our surface. The rest is energy. If we look at an atom, for example, we will see that it is made up of protons, positively charged particles, and electrons, negatively charged particles. As the atom spins in space, its charge will change position. As this happens, it creates a wave, and this wave is energy. What this means in terms of wellness is that changes in energy affect our health outcome. In medicine, we have been led to believe that disease and symptoms of disease is best treated with pharmaceutical drugs. However, the signals that drive life do not have to be pharmaceuticals. We hold the power to change through our own energy signals. In terms of our biology, what this means is that we change the destiny of our cells through consciousness. This has proven to be much more effective than pharmaceutical drugs. What we think is what we become. Emotional stress is the cause of over 90% of all chronic illness. This is due to the fact that the stress response causes a surge of inflammatory signals in the body. When these signals are constantly on, the body becomes inflamed. These internal environmental signals affect protein behavior, since the health of our cells. Sources of energy, such as consciousness, is the most vital way of controlling protein behavior. Our thoughts are instrumental in changing our proteins, which in turn directs our health outcome. So putting it a different way, our internal energies are more effective than energies coming from our external environment in controlling protein behavior. This ultimately controls gene expression. As we have already discussed, genes require an environmental signal to be upregulated or downregulated. Environmental signals are defined as coming from inside the body through thoughts and emotions, or outside of the body through poor diet, toxins, and even smoking. When measuring health status, we must also consider energy patterns. The higher the vibrational wave, the more vital the organism. All things are interconnected and made of energy, and the human body continues to radiate and absorb energy. Waves of energy must be synchronized in order to form and maintain life. If two waves of energy are not synchronized, they will cancel each other out. All connections are based on these vibrational waves. This brings us back to how our thoughts affect gene expression. Energy patterns determine the fate of the organism. Protein plus signal equals health outcome. Conventional medicine is based on the idea that our physical selves, matter, can only be altered by pharmaceutical drugs, matter. We can see that matter does not affect matter effectively through the following example. When there is a chemical reaction in the body based on a drug, matter, heat is released. Anyone who took general chemistry knows that heat is wasted energy. When consciousness, energy, affects the body, matter, there is no heat released. The belief that you hold in your conscious mind is translated into physical expression. Change your consciousness and change your life. This, my friends, is the basis of epigenetics. Hey, thank you for joining us for today's episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I am Dr. Victoria Munoz. Please tune in next time when we continue to bring you information that helps to debunk the myths of health and wealth. Until next time, take care.